Hello, everyone. This is SUPEREEVEEMASTER here, and welcome to the 2015 Daytona 500 at Daytona race reviewer here. So I'm going to be covering um, what I'm going to call one of the most memorable, or this will go down as one of the most memorable 500s of the decade. And this 500, I definitely had a lot of action before and during the race right here, and a couple dates such as like safety, more specifically with the safer barriers, and plus like when is it reasonable to like throw a caution on the final lap. I'll get into that and plus much more here during this race review. But anyway, but first I have a lot of pre-race action to show right here. So let's get into it here as I bring my notes up in front of me right here. This race was the first points race of the season, which also can mean the first race to get a spot in the chase right here. There's already been a lot of excitement heading into the season, and many are considering 2015 to be a new era in NASCAR with the amount of changes that happened during the off season. And there was already a lot of intensity building up into this race when you think about the like sprint unlimited, the pole qualifying at Daytona, even crashes during practice sessions, a pretty destructive wreck start during the truck and Xfinity races right here. So those are just examples of the intensity before the Great American Race. Anyway, and now let's go into who won the practice sessions. There was a total of 7. No, wait a second. Was there? I don't know. I guess I find it kind of strange. I guess I had like a total of like 8 practice sessions. I counted 8, but I might be wrong here. So yeah. So let me just go through who won each practice. Stenhouse won the first, McDowell the second, Kyle Busch the third, Alex Bowman the fourth, Larson the fifth, Jeff Ward the sixth, Junior won the seventh, and Denny Hamlin won the final practice right here. And some of these practices, some would probably consider them to be like Budweiser duel uh, practices, but I'm just gonna call them the way I like to call them right here. Anyway, and during the Budweiser duels, which I think during the Sprint Limited race review, I mentioned how I thought I will most likely do that. I decided not to, mainly because it was a school day, and as my teacher as my parent teacher said, work first then play. So the duels, Dale Earnhardt Jr. dominated duel 1 from going last to first, and Jimmy Johnson just dominated duel 2. And then let's get into some major last minute news here. Kurt Busch on Friday was suspended indefinitely for domestic abuse last September. I'm sure many might remember last November in Phoenix when this news broke out, and I guess now Kurt Busch is serving the consequences are here. And then even though I didn't have it in my notes, I remember Chevrolet also, I guess you could call it whatever you want. I'm gonna call it breaking up the relationship with Kurt Busch or whatever. Now there's been debate on like whether Kurt Busch should return. I kind of find this to be kind of like a tough subject for me to like put my like opinion on. This for NASCAR fans that have been watching for several years now, this isn't the first time Kurt Busch has been like suspended, but oh yeah, it's kind of a tricky one. I don't really know if I should. I don't think it's exactly like right for me to say like, oh, Kurt Busch should never race again or Kurt Busch should come back. We'll just see as time goes by here. And then as for Kyle Busch, who was racing during the Xfinity series, there was a second big one that happened. I believe with like 8 laps to go here, and Kyle Busch got a wall crash, but Kyle Busch came out of the tribal, got loose, and spun and sped all the way down into the infield, hitting an inside wall, heading into turn one that had no safe barriers here. Kyle Busch would then suffer injuries on both legs, and I guess to be more specific, like like a broken I think it was like a broken left foot and a compound fracture on the right foot, which for those who don't know, a compound fracture is basically when uh, a broken bone breaks the skin and everything. And during the night, Kyle Busch had surgery, but unfortunately, Kyle Busch would not be racing in the 500. And I feel like Kurt Busch, it might be a while. It might be a while before Kyle Busch comes back, and because some might remember when Tony Stewart broke his leg in August of 2013. Well, at that dirt race, he had to sit out for the rest of the season. And I feel like Stewart's injuries I believe uh, minor or less severe than what Kyle Busch has to have. So I think it's possible that we could see Kyle Busch out for several months. And I feel like for Kyle Busch fans, it's definitely not the way to start off the season. And even though I'm nowhere close to being a Kyle Busch fan, I do feel really bad. But I feel like I took when this news erupted, I first took out my anger. I took out the majority of my anger. Well, not the majority, actually, all of my anger at NASCAR and Daytona for not having safer barriers. I feel like this, and I'll say this again for fans who have been watching for several years now. This has been a debate that has been going on for several years now of shouldn't should NASCAR install safer barriers everywhere. The reason why NASCAR says they haven't is because of money, which I kind of find to be total bleep or bleep, because I don't know. I feel like in some ways, I feel like safety should always come first in this case, and I felt like this is something I felt like they could have done years ago. Thinking back to when the safer barrier was first used at Indianapolis during the Indy 500 back in May of 2002, and also thinking back to when safer barriers will be installed on all tracks in 2004 and 2005. So I kind of feel like they have had years to do this, and they still haven't done it. And one and I feel like and I feel like in this case with Kyle Busch be and I feel like in this case now Kyle Busch is most likely going to sit out for several months now. I feel like this hopefully does, but I feel like but I feel like it won't, unfortunately, um make all tracks installed overnight. I feel like it will still take maybe a couple more years for tracks to for every track to have safer barriers on all walls of here. And speaking of safer barriers, that's what Daytona International Speedway president announced that that they were going to do it on all of Daytona's walls when they come back for the Coke 0400, and what they did uh, during the night after the Xfinity race was actually install tire barriers right there. And even though no car hit those walls, I feel like during the 500, I feel like it does. I feel like once again it shows how fast these drivers are going no matter what series you are in, and it shows how a driver can really hit anywhere, you know. And I guess in some ways it is kind of interesting of how it's for decades no car hit that wall, and now all of a sudden a car finally hit that wall after not being hit after a wall not being hit for several decades at some tracks like Daytona, So that's kind of one interesting thing. But anyway, my thoughts and prayers go to Kyle Busch on a hopefully speedy recovery, and, and I'm sure a lot of us will hope to see him back on the card soon. You know, and with both Busch brothers out of the race, that to this year's 500 marked the first race the uh, since the fall Atlanta race in 2001, of where a driver had a name Bush was not in it. So that's like an interesting fact right here. And I guess the last like pre-race note that I put in here is that we got pole center. Jeff Gordon got the pole in his five, and what was his final, and what would be his final Daytona 500 right here. And teammate Jimmy Johnson started along second here, and I was definitely proud to see Gordon. I guess it's still, even though similar to Kyle Busch, I'm nowhere close to being a Jeff Gordon fan. I feel like it is kind of hard to kind of like take in the fact that this is his final 500, and that this year is going to be his final full season in NASCAR. I feel like he's still not like second yet, and it's kind of hard to kind of like take in that he will not be in the 500. Anyway, after 10 minutes of talking about previous news, let's now get into the race right here. As I have a drink of water right here, Gordon led the first lap right here, but then Jimmy Johnson took the lead, and then early on, Matt Kenseth was the biggest mover. Dale Earnhardt Jr. quickly found himself in second behind Jimmy right here, and then there were times throughout the whole entire race of where drivers were swapping lanes and somehow not crashing right here. And then there were drivers like Logano, Hamlin, and Boyer making very risky moves right here throughout the whole entire day. And what I also put down here, and my notes was how the like track temperature uh, uh, increased severely compared to like the Boas individual or the Sprint Limited. I unfortunately forget what track temperature has to do with like how track temperature affects the race or diver, and I'll probably research that. But if you know, you can type, if you want to, you can go type it down in the comments below. Um, but anyway, on lap 14, Jeff Gordon took the lead back right here and shuffled the 48 to outside the top five, and now would be where Johnson was throughout the majority of the race here. And then lap 20 here, our first caution comes out. Lancaster blows an engine right here. Then pit stops the following lap right here, and most of the caution flag pit stops, if not all of them, the leaders always took two tires. And then we have a restart here on lap 25, and then pretty much I feel like there wasn't really like exactly like a restart of where drivers didn't go like 3 wide. I felt like every time we had a restart, the 3 wide was always inevitable right here, which made for good racing. But quickly after the first restart, drivers got back to a 2 wide pack right here, and then after that, we started seeing what we eventually see a lot throughout the race was multiple packs forming right here that each consisted of like 15 to like 20 cars, and then we had a second caution right here, which was for a wreck. Tony Stewart said he got tight off of turn number 4, and then he went off the track, and then he got air loose from Greg Biffle being to the outside of him, which caused him to go in front of Ryan Blaney right here, and then I believe Matt Kenseth, who was behind Ryan Blaney, I want to say tap from Michael Waltrip, but I'm not exactly sure right here, and then Kenseth goes into the wall. Tony Stewart would go behind the wall and then come back out for like a little while, but Tony Stewart would never come back out again, finishing 42nd, making it, I believe, his like third Daytona 500 finish in a row, where he finished outside the top 30. It looks like it looks like Tony Stewart is basically pulling a Dale Earnhardt Sr. right here, but hopefully before Tony Stewart retires, he can win a 500. I am like hoping, I am like wishing that will happen in years to come. Right here, and as far as Matt Kenseth's car, even though it suffered less damage, and some would say cosmetic damage, I felt like it was enough damage to hurt his car for the rest of the race. He wouldn't have had, because he was never able to keep up with the lead pack and went several laps down. Right here, and drivers like Ryan Blaney and Michael Waltrip, who got even less damage than Matt Kenseth, also suffered a little bit. And then we have pit stops once again, and like I said, pretty much everyone took 2 tires, or yeah. And then we had restart here again. Jack Warren was still the leader, but then Jack Warren would lose the lead to Joey Logano here, and I don't believe. Actually, I take that back. Logano took the lead, but then Jack Warren got back here on lap 53. And then we saw some early front runners like Joey Logano, Jimmy Johnson, who fall outside the top 10. And then shortly after that, we started seeing a pattern that we would see throughout the midsection of the race of like the lead pack being up high, being down low, being in the middle, etc. And then by the time we got to lap 80, the race had been pretty calm, even though we had like two cautions, And then on lap 87, green flag pit stops began. And then on lap 90, drivers like Edwards, Martrix Jr., Johnson, Larson served penalties are here. Most of these were speeding. However, Johnson's is a little bit more different because Jimmy Johnson had apparently he got penalized for having men over the wall too early right here. And apparently, I don't know how many of you remember this. Apparently, Chad Knaus, Jimmy Johnson's crew chief, was not aware. Was apparently not aware or didn't know when the picker should go over the wall, which that's kind of an interesting thing of how a multi-champion winning crew chief didn't know a very important pit road rule here, which kind of makes me wonder how often are these like rules getting like passed to like drivers and crew chiefs, That's just like something to like think about heading down the road into the season or here. But then those drivers were able to catch you. Were able to catch you. A lucky breaker here when a caution happened on lap number 3. Oh yeah. And by the way, Jeff Harden led the halfway lap here, and caution number 3 came out for debris right here. Then we have pit stops again right here, and then lap 111, we had a restart right here. Gordon and Hamlin out for the lead, and then Hamlin takes the lead away from Gordon, and then Gordon would never be able to get the lead back again. Hamlin led lap 112, but then lap 113, Logano took the lead away from Hamlin, and then lap 114, Junior took the leader here, and Junior was able to lead a lot of laps in the middle section of the race. And then we had drivers like Kevin Harvick, Clint Boyer, and Brett Keselowski contending for the leader here, including drivers like Sam Horace Jr. and a couple of other like small underdogs as well. But then lap 146 here, Joe Logano took the lead here, and then lap 52, a second cycle of green flag pit stops are here began again, and on like the first one, which had like 7 penalties, I believe, or something close to that. This one only had 1 with JJLA being too fast on pit road, I believe. But then after that cycle of green flag pit stops, we saw Jimmy Johnson grab the lead, and he'd be able to keep that lead for about like 30, almost 40 laps, But then all of a sudden, on lap 161, caution number 4, Brett Keselowski running somewhere in like the middle of like the lead pad, blows up an engine, and then McMurray and Newman, who were a couple of car lengths behind them, got in the fluid and hit the wall, and coming out of turn number 2 right here, and that ruined their days right here. And Brett Keselowski, I believe, got like a somewhat. And I think Brett Keselowski, he finished 40th right here. And then, and while some drivers chose to stay out, there were some drivers that came down and prepared over here, but there were drivers like Johnson, Joe Logano, and a couple others who didn't pay and were able to save fuel with some of these cautions are here. Okay, and as I was checking some of my comments, the comments very quickly here, okay, where was I? Oh yeah, and just to put there, on lap 165, it was announced that Jeff Gordon clinched the most lap sled. And what's kind of interesting was that when Jeff Gordon won the 500 in 97, 99, in 2005, Jeff Gordon didn't lead as many laps as he did during this year's 500. And even though Jeff Gordon would get into trouble on the final lap, that's at least one thing to look back on, is that in his final 500, he led the most laps and got the extra bonus points. But then on lap 66 here, we have a restart. Another restart here, and Carl Edwards was able to take the lead away from Johnson. However, 2 laps later, Johnson would get it back. And then around lap 170, we really started to see the intensity pick up here, and a lot of drivers just simply slicing and dicing their way through the field here. But then on lap 167, caution number 5 here. Ryan Blaney, similar to Brad Keselowski, was an engine here. This time, everyone behind him was able to keep control of the cars. And I gotta say, I kind of did feel a little bad for Ryan Blaney, just because even though this is not his first start, he was doing a pretty good job driving for the Wood brothers, and hopefully down the road he can give us he can show us what he's made of in the Cup Series driving for the Wood brothers, especially since this year they went from Roush to Penske engines, you know. And then lap 178, some drivers in the rear made some pit stops, but the key drivers like Johnson, Hamlin, Logano, Boyer, and Gordon all decided to stay out here. Then on lap 182, we had a restart. And then Dale Jr., he tried to get behind his teammate Jimmy Johnson, but he wasn't able to do it, and then got himself stuck in the middle, slid all the way back to outside the top 15 here, and that would kind of like hurt like his chances for the most part to win the 500. And then by lap 186, everyone except the 48 Jimmy Johnson, who was still the leader, was side by side. And all of a sudden here on lap 189, while watching the commercial side by side, we all of a sudden saw Hamlin and Logano get up right next to Johnson, and I believe Johnson was in the middle, and all of a sudden we had a three-way battle for first here, but it wasn't just first place. It was like I think they were like 3 wide, almost like 8 aggress right here. But a better way to remember it was that by around lap around lap 190, the entire lead pack was 3 wide, and that was kind of something that I kind of like dreamt of for like years, but never thought that could happen right here. And seeing that kind of racing with so few laps to go here on this very special and unique 500, it just kind of added a lot of like flavors to the race. Like it was kind of like an additional like flavor to this race. It was definitely what am I trying to say here? It was definitely a type of racing that I had never ever seen before at Daytona, you know, and it just made it was very entertaining and stressful to watch at the same time. Right here, but then on lap 193, the 3-wide battle, the first party had to end when Joe Logano grabbed the lead with the help of Clint Boyer behind him here. And then on lap 195, I don't know how, even though the guys up in the booth didn't say it, there was actually a lot of contact, and a crash almost happened on lap 195 when like Justin Allgaier got loose in the middle, came down on cars like Justin Allgaier and Ty Dillon and Patrick are here, even though the guys in the booth didn't see that. I'm sure depending on when you're watching this, there's probably a video of the full race of the 500. Skip to lap 195 to see what I'm talking about here. But anyway, so I mentioned Justin Allgaier made some contact with some like other drivers that were here, and that eventually would pay the price a couple laps later here, one lap 198 here, coming to the tribal. Justin Allgaier all by himself blew a tire drove through the grass over here, turning up the front of his car and hitting the outside wall right here. And there were drivers like, I can't exactly remember, but there were some drivers that did an amazing job of avoiding the crash right here. Oh yeah, and also about several yards, um, we're just an outguard crash. Ty Dillon hit the wall coming off the turn before right here. So unfortunately, those two drivers' days just got a lot more worse on lap 198 here, and then we had to go to a red flag on lap 199 right here, and that red flag lasted about 7 minutes here. But the reason for the red flag was because of just Algar being blocking the front straightaway here, and like I said, it lasted 7 minutes here, and then we went into overtime, green white checker right here. I know. Which hasn't been too surprising because ever since the green white checkered was introduced, it's happened in the majority of the 500s following the announcement of the green white checkered rule back in 2005. We're here, so we have restart here on lap 201. Joe Logano, Dan Hamlin 1-2. Kind of in like an odd situation if you remember what happened with those two drivers back in 2013 are here. Joe Logano chose the high side, and I think he chose it for a couple of reasons. One Clint was a helpful drafting partner that got into the leader here, and plus I think Logano knew that if he stayed on the bottom, Hamlin and Boyer would have been lined up here, and I think because Hamlin and Boyer are Toyotas, they would have just pushed in front of Logano, and plus also, if Logano restarted on the bottom, Johnson was right behind him, and Johnson, as far and I feel like as a Jimmy Johnson fan, Jimmy Johnson is not much of a pusher. I feel like Johnson would rather be the driver who would be getting pushed right here. But anyway, Logano started out on the high side, Hamlin started on the inside right here, and here we go, green white checker right here. Logano got great drafting help right here from Clipboard on the high side here, and the inside just simply did not go right here, which so Joe Logano was able to clear the inside very easily right here. And pretty much on those final two laps, the field got even a little bit more crazier here, and then we started seeing drivers like Kevin Harvick here, trying to grab the win right here, but it wasn't able to do it because what happened was that on the final lap here, coming out of the turn number 2 right here, we had the big one right here. Jeff Gordon got in the middle of a full white situation right here, and unfortunately, there was no. Unfortunately, he got, I wouldn't say got purposely like turned by Austin Dillon, but just unfortunately Austin Dillon was just in the wrong place in the wrong timer here, which triggered a big one involving, I would say, about like 9 cars are here. But that crash, but that crash, even though I think that crash wasn't too like crazy or wild, for some reason it brought the caution, and Logano was the leader. And since the race ends under the caution, Logano won the Daytona 500. I guess I just kind of once I get this out here, Logano was my pick. Logano was my pick to win the 500, even though I didn't expect it. And that is the first time I've ever gotten a Daytona 500 prediction right. But anyway, I just kind of want to kind of like get like that out as like interesting like news about me. But anyway, so Logano won his first 500 right here, and I believe his the 2015 was Logano's 7th try to win the Daytona 500 here. So he won the Great American Race, and like I mentioned at the beginning, because of last year's rule of you're winning and you're in, Logano is now in the 2015 NASCAR chase, which was something that I was kind of a little bit surprised that Fox Sports didn't exactly like say, that Logano is also in the chase. I'm surprised that they didn't mention like that. anyway, I'm just trying to think of like what to say now. We're here. Um, like I said, the last lap crash brought out the caution right here. And I kind of, and, and through what I've seen, there's been quite a bit of complaining about oh, NASCAR didn't like need to like throw out the caution. Throwing out the caution was totally an unnecessarily move, and in my opinion on that is while I respect NASCAR's decision to throw out the caution flag, I felt like it wasn't necessary. But and this is just my opinion because I feel like there have been in the past really ever since the beginning there have been much more severe last lap crashes, and NASCAR didn't decide to throw out caution. And if you look hard enough, you can probably find like several examples of that. I'm not gonna name any specific races, but just like look like hard enough, and you'll see. Um, and I just kind of feel like if we're going to give like those races like a pass, I don't understand why the 500 could have had that like same like pass, you know. But I feel like nevertheless I felt like whether the caution uh came out or not, I felt like uh Logano was not in danger of like losing the lead on the final lap because I just felt like Harvick was not in like any position to like catch him right here. I just didn't like see it happening right here. But anyway, that's my opinion on NASCAR's decision to throw out the yellow flag right here. Anyway, and I actually forgot to do this at the beginning of it. The beginning of the recap right here, but let me quickly go through where everyone finished here. Logano won the race. Harvick second, Junior third, Hamlin fourth, Johnson fifth, Mears sixth, Boyer seventh, Truex Jr. eighth, K ninth, Greg Biffle 10th, David Gillen 11th, 12th Sam Horse Jr., 13th Michael Nett, 14th Austin Dillon, Eric Rommel 15th, replacement driver Regan Smith 16th, and even though I didn't say it at the beginning, Regan Smith replaced Kurt Busch here, and he'll probably be the replacement for as long as Kurt Busch is not in the 41 car here. Regan 17th right here. Matt Crafton, the replacement driver for Kyle Busch, finished 18th right here, and I don't know if Matt Crafton will be filling in for any races. I'm not that confident, unlike Regan Smith right here. Johnny Snyder finished 19th right here. AJ Allmendinger 20th. Patrick 21st. Cole Wood 22nd. Carl Everton 23rd. Bobby Labonte 24th. Paul Menard 25th. Michael Walsh 26th. Jake Murray 27th. Ty Dillon 28th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 29th. Turbine 30th. 31st, Michael McDowell. 32nd, Reed Sorensen. 33rd, Jeff Gordon. Obviously, pretty much. I'm gonna say all Jeff Gordon fans did not want to see him like finish 33rd in his final 500, especially when he had like the winning car. Such a shame, but it still doesn't mean that Jeff Gordon doesn't have a chance to win the 500. He'll probably win a race and lock himself in the chase, and I think Jeff Gordon will definitely be a championship contender. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and make that prediction. Kyle Larson finished 34th, Matt Kenseth 35th, Mike Wallace 36th, Justin Allgaier 37th, Ryan Newman 38th, Brian Blanche 39th, TJ Lee 40th. 41st, as I have to refresh the page right here to pull up the rest of the results. Keselowski 41st, Tony Stewart 42nd, Landon Castle 43rd, right here. Anyway, so that's where everyone finished. Right here. Let's see. And what else can they get out right here? There's not really much to talk about. Well, okay, fine. I guess the last thing I'll mention is that In case you've forgotten, uh, next week Atlanta, and I gotta say, and I never ever thought that in my life I would say this. I'm actually looking really forward to Atlanta, and I think a lot of that is because of the exciting race we had last year. Last year, if any of you can remember like that exciting race here, I feel like that race is making me excited to see um, this race here. And I'm sure Atlanta will definitely have action right here. Um, but I feel like and I just gotta say, while I definitely love the Speedweeks in the 500, I'm kind of glad it's like over because as I put in the description, uh, a good way to like describe like Speedweeks is like a 10-day party, and the reason why it's 10 days is because if you take the amount of days from the sprint unlimited practice to the 500, that's a total of like 10 days, and I believe on every single one of those days there are cars out on the track. I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe there are. But I believe on like every single one of those like 10 days there are cars out on the track right here. Uh, and and since events like the Sprint Unlimited and the Budweiser Duels and the 500 are all very special events, that's why I call it partier here. So like the 10-day party is finally not over, and then a race like Atlanta, to me is kind of like, okay, it's like, okay, employees, time to get back to work now. Serious business are here, and I always kind of, and in some ways I almost kind of enjoy races like Atlanta. What am I trying to say here? I just kind of feel like, now I'm just simply looking really forward to uh, uh, the next few races down the road, because I feel like that is when the season or the race to get in the chase really starts right here, and that's all I gotta say about that. So I think like heading into 37 minutes right here, I'm going to end the race recap right here, and so so that's all I have to say about that. And whether you're watching this live or watching this in the days, weeks, or months after this was uploaded, thank you for watching this event. Be sure to rate, comment, subscribe, and bye. See you next week after Atlanta.